Hi, welcome to MathforAll, where everyone can learn more about math. I'm Denise, and as we continue our study on square roots, we encounter another important geometric application after Pythagorean's theorem that uses radicals. It's called the distance formula. This formula is used whenever we have to find the distance between two given points. It is actually the Pythagorean theorem in a different form, so let's get started on it. First, we'll do a quick review of finding the distance between two horizontal or vertical points. Find the distance between 5, -2 and -4, -2. We'll plot them on this coordinate graph, over 5, down 2, and back 4, down 2. To find the length of this nice flat line, I can count how many squares, 4, then 5, for a length of 9 units. Since this is a horizontal line, noticed because the y values are both the same, I could have subtracted the x values to get the distance. Either 5 minus -4 equals 9, or -4 minus 5 equals -9. But since the distance is never negative, we take the absolute value of -9, which is also 9. We can do the same if we have a vertical line. Find the distance between 3,7 and 3,1. I notice that these both have 3 as their x values, so when I plot them, I will have a vertical line. The distance between them is the absolute value of the difference of the y values. The absolute value of 7 minus 1 equals 6, or the absolute value of 1 minus 7, which also equals 6. The absolute value sign allows us to subtract in any order and still get a positive distance. So now, it's time to get to diagonal lines, which will use square roots as promised. Find the distance between 4, 5 and -2, 3. We'll plot the points to see what's going on. We'll connect the dots to show that we are going to find the length of this line, which is the distance between those points. Because it's a diagonal line, we cannot just subtract the x or y values, but we will do a cool trick here. I'll bring vertical and horizontal lines to make a triangle between these points. Not just any old triangle, but a right triangle. And we just learned that in a right triangle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And in our sweet triangle, the vertical and horizontal lines are a and b. And that distance that we are looking for is our hypotenuse, c. I can count the distance of a, 6, or by subtracting the x values, 4 minus -2 equals 6. Then b is up 2, or subtracting my y values of 5 minus 3 equals 2. Plopping those numbers into a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 6 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared. For 36 plus 4 equals c squared equals 40, so c is the square root of 40. That simplifies into 2 root 10, or using a calculator, about 6.32 units. Woohoo! Now, we'll take one more step forward and condense what we just did into one somewhat ugly-looking formula. The distance between 2 points, labeled x1, y1, and x2, y2, is d equals the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. I hope that you can see that this formula is just what we did in the previous example. We subtracted the x and y values to get lengths a and b, squared them each and added them together, then took the square root to find c, the distance between them. Let's do an example using this formula. Find the distance between -11, -7, and 2, -1. Step 1. I'll label x1, y1 on the first point and x2, y2 on the second point. Then step 2. Substitute the values into the formula. We take that big square root, parentheses, -11 minus 2 squared, plus parentheses, -7 minus -1 squared. Next, step 3. We do some math by simplifying parentheses first. -11 minus 2 equals negative 13. And negative 7 minus negative 1 equals negative 7 plus 1, which is negative 6. Keep these in parentheses, please, because the negative sign is squared too. Step 4. Do some more math by squaring and adding. Negative 13 squared is 169, and negative 6 squared is 36. Notice that these will always turn positive. Then, adding them up, we get 205. Remember that we have to take the square root of that, so the length is the square root of 205, or about 14.32 units. Congratulations on persevering even when you saw a scary distance formula. You have come so far in being able to tackle square roots, so come back soon to learn more about math.